So today's recipe with Southern Mama's Soul Food Kitchen is going to be some homemade lo mein and some home rolled spring rolls. They're so delicious. Wait till y'all try them. Oh, yummy. This recipe, we like to have these spring roll pastry wraps. I can only get them at the Oriental Market, so if you can also use the egg roll wraps with this recipe. They're just as good. They're just not as light and crispy. For the lo mein, I'm going to use some of this linguine. I have a head of cabbage already chopped up. I've got a pound of ground pork. I have some shrimp that is already cooked, peeled, and deveined. I have one medium-sized already chopped sweet onion, one medium-sized already chopped orange bell pepper. We'll need some stir-fry sauce, some sweet chili sauce for dipping the spring rolls in, some soy sauce, and some teriyaki sauce. And we'll get cooking. So what we're going to do is add about a teaspoon of teriyaki sauce and a pinch of onions to the ground pork, and we're going to brown it. And then when we're done with that, we're going to set it aside. Now, while we've got that browning, we're going to come over here and we're going to add just a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, and we're going to turn it on about a medium-high heat. And we're going to add our cabbage and start sauteing our cabbage up. Now, while we've got this stir-frying, we're going to add a 1/4 cup of teriyaki for flavor. And I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of my soy sauce. Soy sauce is really strong, so you always have to be real careful when you use the soy sauce. And we're going to saute this for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to add our peppers and onion brown. We're going to have to drain it. Look at all the grease. Ew, we don't want that in our food. Icky, icky, icky. So we're going to drain this grease. We're going to add a little bit of salt and pepper to your taste. I mean, if you don't like to use it, you don't have to use it. I'm just going to add a little bit just to give it a little bit extra flavor. So it's been 5 minutes. We're going to add our pork, our ground pork, and then we're going to add our chopped shrimp. And then we're going to stir it up and cook it for another 2 or 3 minutes. During this step, I'm going to add another teaspoon of soy sauce to add some flavoring. More flavoring. More flavor. We need more. Got this cooked. Now we're going to let it cool for about 20 to 30 minutes so that we don't burn our digits. So when we take our wrappers out, sometimes they're a little dry and you don't want them to be dry. So what you're going to do is get a wet, not really wet, but damp cloth and kind of cover them up and let them set for about 10 minutes. Let them set here for about 10 minutes, and then you're going to start pulling them apart. Because if they're too dry, when you start rolling your rolls, well, they're going to crumble, and we don't want them to crumble. So see how they just come apart? What you're going to do is just lay them on here and let them get all nice and moist again, because when they're so dry, they're just like, you can tell the difference. This is the one in the middle. And see how this one looks on the end and how it's already falling apart? That's not what we want. This is what we want. And the problem is I put mine in the freezer, and you're supposed to take them out about 30 minutes before you do this, which I did, but they still get really dry. So the best thing to do is to get them use them whenever they're freshly bought. But the Oriental Market's all the way in Mandarin, and I only go out there once a week, so these were bought way ahead of time. All right, well, while these are getting re-moist, we're going to get I forgot to tell you, we need to have an egg white, only the white. We're going to have an egg white, and we're going to mix that up, and that's going to help keep our rolls sealed, just like what we used in the chimichangas, if y'all watched my chimichanga video. We're going to whisk this up real good so that it's nice and fluffy and it's not all, you know, we don't want that. We need it to be a little bit more pliable. See, much easier to use. Off with a piece of parchment paper in this pan here, and you want to get the non-stick kind so that they don't stick. When you're placing them in your pan, you want to make sure that they're kind of separate, and you're going to try and keep them covered up as much as possible. And while you're rolling everything, make sure that your wraps stay covered so that they don't dry out. Now I'm going to show y'all how to wrap one. Also, you're going to want to scoop some of your filling out onto a paper plate or a bowl or something with a paper towel to help absorb some of this moisture. If you don't, it's going to break apart your spring rolls. Okay, so here we go with a wrap. Okay, this is one of the ones that was looking pretty rough, and we got it nice and pliable now. So we're just going to take a pinch of this. You don't want to overfill it, because if you overfill it, it's going to just spill all out. You don't want any major chunks of meat. You want to kind of keep those, you know, nice and loose. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to bring it towards us a little bit like this. Roll, and then take our mixture here, our little egg white, and we're gonna brush it on there, and then voila, we have us a spring roll, and it is also happy and ready to be fried and ate. Isn't it pretty? Oh, it's so cute, a little spring roll. I'll show you one more wrap, one more time how to roll it. Okay, I'm going to bring it like this, kind of like that, bring it in, bring it in. This is the way we roll our spring rolls, roll our spring roll, roll our spring roll. This is the way we roll a spring roll every single time. And there we go. Voila, we have a beautiful little spring. We're boiling for the noodles for the lo mein, and meanwhile we have our oil in our pan getting hot to cook our little spring rolls, and we need our oil to get up to 275. I've got my wire rack over here so that whenever I'm done I can put them on the wire rack to let them cool. I've added some oil and some salt to help flavor the noodles and keep them from sticking. We've got the noodles boiling for 10 minutes. Wooden spoon test. See the bubbles? I don't know if you can see the bubbles coming up. That means it's ready. So then we take our spring rolls and we start putting them in. And we're going to cook them for about 2 to 3 minutes on each side. You don't want them to touch while they're in the pan, because they will stick to each other. And there we go. We're going to let those cook for 2 to 3 minutes. It's been about 2 minutes and I just flipped them. So we just flipped them and we're going to let them cook for another 2 minutes, and then we're going to remove them and let them drain some of their grease off of the paper towel that I have set up right here on this rack, and then we'll move them straight onto the rack. You can let them cook a little bit longer if you want. You know, it's soul food, so you cook it the way you want it. If you like them a little bit browner, cook them a little browner. Be sure to stir your noodles occasionally so that they don't stick to the bottom. To add 2 tablespoons of teriyaki, a quarter cup of stir-fry sauce, and 2 tablespoons of soy sauce to my lo mein. We cooked this for about 5 minutes and it looks pretty yummy. I'm fixing to taste and let you know if we need to add any salt and pepper. Instead of adding salt and pepper, I added 1 more tablespoon of soy sauce. Yummy. So here's our finished result. We have our beautiful lo mein with shrimp and pork and cabbage and onion, sweet onion, and red bell pepper. Or was it orange? I think it was orange. And then we've got our beautiful spring rolls and our sweet chili sauce to dip it in. And wait till you hear the crunch. The crunch is amazing. Oops. Wow, that's delicious. You guys have got to try it. It's so yummy. My son's friends that don't even like some of the stuff that I put in it think that these are so good. Okay, so don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And thanks for visiting Southern Mama's Soul Food Kitchen. See you again.